They didn't even bother to lie with kindness. We only invited the elites, her sister said, flashing a smile full of teeth and money. I just don't want you to feel out of place. That was her polite way of saying we were an embarrassment. That my 15-year-old daughter wasn't good enough to be in a room full of people dressed in $1,000 suits and fake grins. My wife said nothing. She just stared at the floor, like it held all the answers she didn't want to face. And me. I didn't argue. I only said, we won't be attending. But I never forget a slight, especially one that wounds my daughter's heart. My wife's family never truly liked me. They tolerated me. I wasn't born into the right zip code, never vacationed in Aspen, didn't inherit a company or a yacht. I built our life with my hands and my mind. Steady, modest, respectable. But never elite. They used to whisper that my daughter looked like me. That wasn't a compliment coming from their mouths. Being excluded from the wedding was the first time they said it out loud without euphemisms. You are not one of us. I didn't shout. I didn't protest. I simply observed. My daughter cried alone in her room that night. Quietly. Pretending it didn't matter. I held her hand and made a silent promise. They'll regret this. After that, something changed. My wife smiled more when she was around them. Laughed louder at their jokes. Maybe she thought standing closer to the poison would make her immune. Maybe she forgot who she married. Or maybe she just didn't care anymore. I didn't plead for her loyalty. I simply noted her betrayal. At the wedding they posted pictures like trophies. My wife was centered between her sisters, dressed to blend in perfectly. My daughter and I were absent, as though we had died. I printed one of those pictures and placed it in the safe beside our legal documents, just as a reminder. Then came December. Christmas. My wife wanted to host that year. It's our turn, she said. The whole family will be here. My sisters, their husbands, the kids, my mom. Smiled. Of course. Let's make it unforgettable. And so, I made a single quiet change. The house we had lived in for 17 years, the one I paid for, was now legally in my daughter's name. Irrevocably transferred into a trust one had been preparing for years. She was the sole beneficiary. Everything filed properly, stamped, official and clean. On Christmas Eve they all arrived. Luxury cars, designer clothes, thin smiles. My wife passed out wine. Played host. My daughter wore a navy dress she bought with her own allowance. She looked beautiful. She was beautiful. But the room still tried to swallow her, to make her feel small again. Then the conversation shifted to money. Properties. Inheritances. My wife's older sister began bragging about her Malibu investment home. And my daughter, quietly sipping her cider, said, "Oh, this house? It's mine." They laughed. But I didn't. I stood and nodded. She's telling the truth. I transferred the deed to her last month. Silence fell sharp and sudden. My wife blinked, stunned. You what? I signed the house over to her, I said. It's in a trust. Irrevocable. The room froze. Her mother set her wine down slowly. You did this without telling your wife. I looked at them, all of them, and let the ice show in my voice. I consulted the only person whose future matters to me, my daughter's. My wife's lips parted, but no sound came out. One of the brothers-in-law laughed nervously. That's a bold move. It was necessary, I said. Considering how this family treats appearances, I figured it was time she owned something you couldn't shut her out of. No one spoke after that. Not really. They finished their wine in silence and trickled out before midnight. The house was too quiet afterward. My wife didn't come to bed that night. 2 days later, she packed a suitcase and left. No shouting. No explanations. Just the door closing behind her as she drove to her sister's. Maybe she thought I'd chase her. I didn't. She filed for separation. I didn't contest it. She wanted the house in the settlement. I had my lawyer send her the deed. When she saw my daughter's name on it, she tried to argue coercion. Claimed I had done it behind her back, without her consent. But the trust paperwork was airtight. Dated well before Christmas, notarized, my intentions clear and legally binding. She cried in court. Her family circled around her, tried to prop her up. The judge didn't care. She got her clothes, a few pieces of furniture. Nothing more. My daughter kept the house. Stayed. The aftermath was exquisite. Her sisters turned cold when they realized she had no more leverage. No home to host their little get-togethers. No status to brag with. She had tried to climb their social ladder. I had kicked out the rung beneath her. And my daughter, she thrived, grew stronger, brighter, unapologetically herself. She knew now that I would never let anyone define her worth again. Sometimes she sits by the window, book in hand, wearing that same navy dress they once dismissed her in. She looks out at the world they tried to keep her from, and knows she owns more than they ever will. I don't need applause. I don't need loud revenge. Just one quiet move. And the silence that follows when everything they built begins to crumble.